Let's take a look at SharePoint now. Now from Microsoft365.com, if I go to the waffle icon in the top left, I can come down to SharePoint. Now if I click on SharePoint, this is going to take me to the main SharePoint webpage. You may see some stuff here already beginning to populate. Ultimately, what shows here is largely what SharePoint thinks you need to know. But you may already be a member of a SharePoint site. So what I can do is on the left here, there's this icon that looks like a globe that says My Sites. If I click on that, I can go down and see that I am a member of a site called My Example Site. And I can click on that. Now, to help yourself find these SharePoint sites, I can in the top right here click this button here that says Not Following, and if I click it, it will change to Following. If you do not see a SharePoint site that you know you are a member of, but it is not listed here, get a coworker to share with you a link directly to the SharePoint site, and then from there click the Following button, and it should appear in My Sites from then on. And that will help you find it in the future. Now, the primary reason to use SharePoint is for file sharing. So once we're on a specific site, here we're on My Example Site, we can go down to Documents, and we can see files that are here. A couple of folders, and in this folder, there's a Word document. Everybody who has access to this SharePoint site has access to this document, bearing in mind any advanced permissions that may have been configured to adjust them as necessary by your IT department. At the top right, we can see who are members of this site. This was a site created by the user1 account, and TSS Trainer is a member of the site. This by default is a private site, so only members can see it. But if you are an owner of a site, you can actually add members to the site, and everyone you add will be able to get access as any other member. Additionally, if you want someone else to be able to invite people to the site, we can change them from a member to an owner, and now they would be able to invite members. So, now that we know who has access to the site, we know who we're sharing our documents with. Again, bearing in mind that there could be additional permissions that may have been set on specific folders. And what I can do is there's a sync button here at the top. This is the most useful button here. If I click sync, it's going to open OneDrive. Okay, that's kind of weird. But if I hit open here, one sec, ignoring that error, once I hit that sync button and it came up, now if I open up my File Explorer, I can see here the name of the company. Here it's TSS Test Tenant, but it will be the name of your company, and I can see that I sunk the Documents folder from this site. And I can see Example Project 1, Example Project 2 folders, and if I go into this folder, I can see there's a document, and I can open the document. I don't have Word installed on this machine, so that will have to do for now. But if I were to create a new document, then it will appear back. I may have to refresh the web page, and we can see the document is here back in the web page. Everybody has access to the site, has access to these files. So what somebody else can do is come and say, hi, where is that file? And you just say, oh, it's under the Project 1 folder in SharePoint. They can come into SharePoint, come into Documents, and hit Sync. Now, I highly recommend you hit Sync as soon as you go into Documents. If you go down a folder and hit Sync, and there is a sync button here, it's a little hidden, then it will not sync the other folder. So it will sync everything. So if I hit sync now, it'll sync both of these. If I click into this folder, it'll only sync this folder, which maybe is what you want. But in my experience, it's generally nicer to sync the entire library from SharePoint. If I am to change a file here within SharePoint, let's say I go into a folder, and you'll notice after potentially a reboot in your computer, you will see the status icons for the corresponding folders. These are the same icons OneDrive uses. If I come in and create a new document, you will see, very briefly, the OneDrive icon at the bottom actually has a little syncing icon on it. And we can see if we click OneDrive, it now says, File uploaded to Example Project 1, which is the folder we've saved it in. So ultimately, SharePoint, it's very, very closely related to OneDrive, but it's not quite the same. SharePoint is really meant for sharing, whereas OneDrive is not. However, SharePoint documents on your computer are being synced to your computer using the OneDrive app. Finally, let's take a look at how this works in Microsoft Teams. So right now, I'm not a member of any teams, although you may be a member of a team already. Every Microsoft team comes with a SharePoint built in. So if I create a new team, I'm going to choose from scratch, and I can choose private or public. If you're working on a new project, and you know 3 specific people need to be working on the project and no one else, I would go with a private team. However, if this is for collaboration relatively broadly across the company and doesn't have any confidential documents, you may choose public. I'm going to choose public for this demonstration. We can give this a name, and you can give it a description. And we can actually start adding members of our organization to the team itself. We're going to add a member, and we could change them to an owner, and much like with SharePoint, an owner would mean that they would be able to add other people to it. If it's public, other people will just be able to add themselves to it, and anybody will be able to add someone. So keep that in mind. If you don't know who the owner of a team is, you can access that from within the team, or you can ask your IT department, your help desk, to add someone directly to a team for you. Alternatively, for someone, they could come in and they could join a team, they could search for a team. If a team is public, they'll be able to search for it by name. So now that we have a team, each team has a channel, and in this channel, we can make a post. That post just comes up as a message, and users can reply to them, of course. In the top right, I can click the info icon, and we can see who the members are here. So I can see who the members are, and we can see who the owners are. The owners can always add new members to a team. But the nice thing about this is that you'll notice there's a Files tab right across the top. And these files are files that everybody in the team has access to. This is a SharePoint document library. Now, right now, this actually has a folder in it already. Specifically, I'm under Documents under a folder called General. If I come and make a new channel, maybe it's an off-topic channel, just for sharing things to everybody. And we could change it to specific teammates have access. But I'm going to make it standard for this purpose. Now we have another channel. And of course our conversations are separated out. But what's nice is there's a Files button here with its own set of documents that we can put in here. So if I go into General under Files, I'm going to go up a folder into Documents, and we can actually see both folders now. From here, I'm going to hit Sync. It's going to tell me we're syncing your files. Well, if I open up File Explorer now, I can now see my team is here, and each of my channels has a folder now. And I can just, come in. Maybe I had a OneDrive document I was working on, Project 1. Oh yeah, this document, I want to share it with people. Well, I'm just going to copy the document, or maybe cut the document. We'll move it. I'm going to go Demo Team. And I'm going to say General. I want everybody to have this document. I'm going to paste it there. So now it's in the actual SharePoint for the demo team. So now, under General, under Files, the document is right here, and I can open it from within Teams, or anyone can open it from within Teams, and it will open up Word, and ultimately this was a blank document. It has nothing of use in it. But I can also click on the little meatballs icon, and if I hit Open, I can open in app, and it will open directly within your regular Microsoft Word, or Excel, or PowerPoint, or Publisher, or whatever document it is. Additionally, if a document is stored in SharePoint, like this one now is, and two people open the document simultaneously, you will see each other in the document. You'll have a little cursor, and somebody else will have a cursor, and if you hover over theirs, it will tell you who it is. So you can have more than one person working on a document at the same time. We can create a new folder here, subfolder, for some reason, and if I go into File Explorer, we can see the subfolder is there. Similarly, I can always keep on device, just like you can with OneDrive. This integration with Teams makes your life easier because if you need a new document library for a specific set of people, just create a new team. You create a new team, it gets its own conversation history. That way you can talk about the documents within Teams and make sure that the only people that can see that conversation are the same people that have access to those documents. They're one and the same. So files, documents, and this sync button is very, very useful again. It just lets us access from whatever programs we have and open the documents. For example, if I open up Paint, I can go File, Open, and I could select from OneDrive. I could select a picture here and hit Open, or I can go File, Open, and I can find your company name under my specific team, under General, under a subfolder. I don't have any pictures in here, but I could open the file directly, and other people can as well. SharePoint is all about shared documents libraries. You can do some other stuff with it, but that is its primary use. Now, one thing I do want to mention is if I make a post here, what I can do is I can take a document, maybe it's in my OneDrive, it really doesn't matter, and if I click and drag it into Teams, it'll take a moment, but what it's going to do is upload it. Doesn't matter where it was on your computer. it's going to upload it into that SharePoint. So if I hit enter and I send that file to everyone, and I go to files, we can see that file, logo.png, is saved right within that folder. If I open up File Explorer, we can see within that team, under General, we can see that file is right there. This is a different copy of the file. So if I were to delete this one now, and I go back to where the original file was, that file is still there. It's a separate file when you've uploaded it through Teams to the SharePoint. Let's take a look at one other way that we can use OneDrive, or rather SharePoint and Teams together. Let's say in this team, I'm working on a contract or an invoice or something for people, and I want a folder, and this folder is going to be for all of my 2023 contracts, if I can spell. So in that folder, that's maybe where you save a new Word document. For now, I'm just going to call this just a regular text document, but it could be a Word document, could be Excel, could be PDFs, doesn't matter. I'm going to say this is some contract. Now, that file is now stored inside of File Explorer, specifically within SharePoint, because I've saved it within the demo team SharePoint. And I could have saved it directly from Microsoft Word or another program. Well, now what I want to do is go and start a conversation that says, hey, can someone look over this document for me? Well, what I could do is I could go find that document and I could drag and drop it. But I don't want to do that, because if I do that, it's going to copy it. But the file's already in SharePoint. I don't need to copy it again. If I do this, it's just going to create many, 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 many copies of the same document scattered about your SharePoint. So I'm not going to do that. Instead, because it's already in SharePoint, I'm going to hit this little paperclip icon here that says Attach. I'm going to hit Attach, and I'm going to say Browse Teams and Channels. And it's already going to browse the documents that are in this team, i.e. in this SharePoint, because they're kind of one and the same here. I could go up, and I could grab a document that's in the other channel. But let's do that again. I can find that contract, I can find that document, and I'm just going to hit Share a Link. The document's already in a place that it can be accessed, and I'm just going to hit Enter. And now somebody else can come along, click the document, and they can open it, and there's nothing in here at this point in time. This is just for demonstration purposes. But they can edit it, put some text in it, and close the document after, and I could open it directly on my computer. I didn't save the document, but we can edit it, take a look back at it. I didn't save my changes. I can take a look at it. If I need to make changes, if this was a Word document, you see how here it says Open in SharePoint? There would also be an Open in Word option, or an Open in Excel option, or Open in App. I could open it in Word, make some edits, save it, and then it would have changed this exact same file, because it's just a link to the file that's been shared. So this lets us share files back and forth without somebody having to come in here and say, I've taken a look at it, here's a copy of the new document that I have revised. No, they can just open up the exact same document and see the revisions. Now, I have taken the moment to install some of the Office programs, and I have Office. I'll take a moment to make sure I'm signed in. And when I'm signed in, it will bring in the OneDrive as well as SharePoint integration that I need. If you're signed into a work computer and it asks you stay signed into all your apps, just hit OK. If it's a personal computer, I would hit no, sign into this app only. So now I have Word open, and we can already see some documents here, and we can see some of them are from personal, which means they're under my OneDrive, but some of them are under my example site, which was the SharePoint we looked at that was not connected to a team, and we have the document that was under demo team. So that one's under a Teams team. Let's take a look at it making a new document. I can take this document, I can do something like, pro tip, if I do equals lorem and then the parentheses at the end and hit enter, it will generate some auto text in here. And I'm going to save. Now I can save it into my OneDrive and I can select the exact folder I want it to be. I don't really like this UI for it. I generally go browse and then click OneDrive, but ultimately it's the same thing. Down here, OneDrive, and I can select under Documents. Or I can select under Sites. Which site do I want to it in? Well, I'm going to share this one. Maybe it's a contract under my demo team. I can put it under Documents, maybe under General, and maybe this is a contract that we were talking about earlier, and I could save it here. Alternatively, I can go Browse, find the site here, General, go under Contracts, and let's save this as New Contract. So now I have saved the file. I'm going to close Word. I'm going to say, again, hey, can anyone look over this document for me? And I accidentally copied some text I did not want. And I'm going to attach that file. Browse the team, find the contract, new contract, share a link. And now I'm going to hit enter. And off and away it goes. It's still in the SharePoint, but because I haven't copied it again, I haven't gone open File Explorer. Let's find that file and drag it in. If I did that, I'd make a new copy of the document. Here, now anybody can open it here, see the document, or we can close this, and I can click on the meatballs icon, open in Word desktop app, so it launches directly to your app. I can make the changes to it. I can do equals random. That's another one. It just has English text to generate. And I've made some changes to the file. Maybe I want to remove these couple of paragraphs, or maybe somebody else is doing this. And I've hit save. At the top, I can close the document. Now that I've closed the document, next person who opens it, still, it's all saved in the same location. However they open it, the changes will be there. All right, that's a fair bit. There's quite a lot of nuance to SharePoint. Ultimately, here, so long as you're focused on sharing files, the main thing you got to be aware of is where the files are. What are they in OneDrive? What SharePoint are they in? And if you're trying to make sure somebody knows, we can always come in, go to Files, find the exact file, and just go copy link. If I copy a link and make it so only people with existing access can use this link, then it means only the people in the team have access to it, and I can jump them right to the file if they click on the link. Or I can just tell them, oh, it's under General, under 2023 contracts in the demo team. So we can point people to the right documents without having to email them around, without having to make unnecessary copies of our files all the time. And that really there is the beauty of SharePoint.